Guess who? Alright, probably not a very hard guess, but you know what, whatever. Alright, noobs die. Alright. Anyway, we have Undead versus Orc, so we finally got some Undead in against Orc. This is from the editor's point of view. Fun stuff, okay. So, we're going to be going over a Lost Temple matchup again at the LAN. We have a returning champion, gamedge.vanness, versus some Orc player whose name I'm not going to pronounce. Yes, GG noobs. Alright, anyway, we've got ourselves... Alright, let's unpause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. Okay, so I've gotten various feedback regarding talk speed, and I went over it a little bit last time, and my random lame phrases that I go over, like GG, noob, Rafa, Mao, XD, XG, LOL, Kiki, Sor, Gosar. And, well, the latter is here to stay, and the former I'll try to improve on. I'll try to talk a little slower, go back to the pausing when I need to go over something, and hopefully not talk like this. Oh my gosh, it's really crazy. Oh my gosh, he's making crypt and he's making an altar and he's got a ziggurat and oh my gosh, he's gonna come out, it's gonna be death knight, it's gonna be crazy, he's gonna harass, he's gonna make cool, he's gonna chop the wood, he's gonna creep, and all that kind of fun stuff. And I'm sure Doc talks faster than I do, but whatever. Okay. So as soon as he gets 60 wood, he goes to scout. He scouts clockwise just because he can, I don't know. The reason he goes for 60 wood so he can put up the next ziggurat, so that after he gets his hero and he gets some more ghouls, he still has enough food to continue making guys. It just works, so yeah. And he's cutting... There's no reason to really scout clockwise, but... whatever. You know, gotta start one direction, so let's go that way. Yeah, no really big reason, you just can. Yes, okay. So... The Acropolis is, well, not making any Acolytes, because he's got 5 already, so anyone who wants to make 6, don't. GG, alright. Now, I was thinking actually about that a little while ago, maybe a few weeks ago. What if you actually built your 6th Acolyte and just used him to build structures? Because when you consider the number of structures you actually build, you know, with the Acolytes, you probably lose more than 75 gold doing that, you know, including, like, random repairs and all that crap. But, you know, it's finding a time to actually build it, because normally your build's not going to allow you 75 extra gold when you want to tech. So that usually won't work out for you. But then again, you can also try, yeah, so that's something. Now we see that there's a Farseer and he's got wolves, so he's going to run away as fast as he can, so he doesn't get owned. What I was going to say is, you know, you probably save more money than that just actually building the Acolyte, but there's no really room to, you know, insert another 75 gold into your build order. Because Undead tech's really fast, and they have to get Ghoul Frenzy and statues in that second hero. Because they're actually quite weak once their Death Knight initially runs out of mana. Because he is pretty bad regen. The only reason he actually has mana is because of statues and whatnot. And the easy accessibility of mana potions in ROC is why he, you know, wasn't a total noob. You see the return lumber trick, and the Death Knight's going to go and, you know, whack the Farseer a few times, because it's smart, you know. He's got limited hit points, you might as well. You gotta try to knock it down, maybe get lucky, and force him to run away earlier. You know, so he was getting the Nerubian Tower as soon as he saw his opponent going for a Farseer to harass. You know, because some people, you know, sometimes people go for like a tech, or creeping, like with an Expo and whatnot. Yeah, some people don't. You saw that this one was one of those where he went to harass, and, well, he already sees that he's second tier 2, so you kind of know in advance that he is indeed teching. So we're going to see a fast second hero for the Orc player, because everyone who's Orc will pretty much get a second hero guaranteed. Some of them will get third hero, some of them won't. Usually in free-for-alls you'll get a third hero, but otherwise not usually. So we see that he's picking his ghouls out of lumber, and he goes to hit some spirit wolves. He was actually going to probably go to creep, didn't realize he's getting harassed, so he actually wants to lure the wolves into the cold tower so that he can get a few hits and possibly a kill. So he's keeping up on the ziggurats as the Death Knight goes to harass the main as best he can. No guarantees, but you might as well try. So the DK is running in there, also just, you know, a little bit of scouting. There's not a whole lot of Death Knight can do. He sees that there are 2 grunts out, and that tier 2 is still being underway. He's checking for an expansion, because you never know. And so you can see that the Orc player does very well keeping his ghouls out of the fray, keeping the wolves out of the fray. He sees that there's no PN or anything rallied to the expansion, so he's not worrying about an Expo just yet. But he does see that there are grunts rallied out there, and when you do attack and you have grunts, that usually means you're going to be expanding. That's generally what people do. Now, he could have killed the wolf right there, but he's a noob, so he didn't. So that's unfortunate for him. But, you know, he's got, you know, the Death Knight running around, seeing that he can't really touch anything because of those grunts. And he's going to You know, he's almost got the tier 2 done. He's getting a graveyard so he can, you know, choose to go Gargs. The main thing is actually to get the statues out. That's really important. So, just FYI. So he's focusing down the wolf as best he can, gets one. And he's going to try to get this other one right here. So we're going to see that he, well, he doesn't get it. Because as you saw, there's only 20 EXP on the Death Knight. Each wolf is 20 EXP. So whenever you're harassing, the best thing you can do, if you are going to lose a unit to wolves and whatnot, the best thing you can do is actually have it die to a tower. Because that means your opponent will not get EXP for it. That's always something to realize. It's always smart. So you see he immediately texts to tier 3. This is the kind of thing you can get when you're just constantly chopping wood with your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 ghouls. Is that you have enough wood to actually immediately go into tier 3 and get a hero, and if he had the spare gold, get a statue. As you saw, he doesn't have the spare gold because he bought a Rod of Necromancy. So no statues for him. Just missed a surround, which is unfortunate. Usually you can get a surround right there. You know, but he's a noob, so what can you do? But, you know, his main is somewhat open to harassment. All he has is the Nerubian Tower, and his tier 3 just started. And you see here's a Creepjack, and guess what? Oh, stolen, GG. That's something always to realize, that whenever you're running into a fray, immediately use the Alt key and do the best you can to actually, possibly get a free kill. As you saw, not only does it give yourself experience and gold, but it denies that of your opponent. So, you know, the Death Knight lost, quite a bit of EXP and gold just because the Farseer stole it, and, it's a bit of creeping without actually creeping. So it's pretty cool. He's trying to run around, maybe, scare away the Farseer, just burning through coils to keep his guys alive, and then focuses stuff down, make sure it's, in killable range, then immediately focuses before the Farseer can do anything about it. But you see the Farseer, kills a skeleton, I think, gets a replenishment potion, not bad. And he's just going to continue owning stuff the best he can. So, yeah, not so bad. So right now, Undead has no idea what Orc is actually doing. He might have actually seen that bestiary going up. I'm not sure for certain. Probably did. So he knows that there's a bestiary, and he has grunts. So actually, a popular Orc tactic I've seen is actually a grunt wyvern build. Now, of course, if Undead goes for destroyers, that's not going to work very well. But generally, if there are fiends or there are gargs, it's going to be tough to actually manage, how much of each you have to get as Undead. Whereas, if Orc got too many wyvern, oh well, wyvern can still hit ground, they can still hit air. Either way, still works. And heroes can pick up some slack. Whereas, if Undead gets too many ghouls, then they're stuck with ghouls versus wyvern. If they get too many gargs, the grunts will rip them up. And, it's not too hard to keep your heroes away from ghouls unless your opponent has sleep. Since most people don't go Dreadlord, you're in pretty good shape. Sorry, that was a little bit of a talking fast right there, so I'll try to slow it down again. Alright, so he has a Lich because it's probably one of the best second heroes you can get, just because it's, the great offensive spells really is what it's about. I know in ROC people went DK just for the massive, dual aura ghouls ownage, and I still really support that. I like that hero choice a lot because it really does amplify the ghouls' effectiveness pretty highly. So that's actually a favorite strat of mine. Now you can see at the Undead's main, he's getting himself a second Slaughterhouse, and he's researching Destroyer for him. So he sees that there was a Bestiary and there was Grunts, so the counter to that is pretty much Destroyers. Because as you saw in an earlier commentary, Destroyers do pretty well against just Wyvern. He almost won, just, massing the Anticaster. And if you add in Ground Forces, which can even, hit the Destroyer, it just gets more and more fun for that player. So you can see that there are actually Raiders out. And so he's like, oh, that's bad. And so he's going to be canceling the Slaughterhouse. If, he does cancel Slaughterhouse, we have the Scroll of Speed going off, and we're going to do our best. He's going to do his best to actually nuke out what he can. Chain Heal goes off, and there's no kills, so no dice. So that's something you can do very well as Orc, especially when you've got Raiders. And just go ahead and get yourself some pillage, and go hit some buildings, and then Scroll Speed out of there as soon as you see the TP going off. Now, one thing that I've not seen anyone use, but I want to start using it pretty soon, if I can think of it. Get a Staff of Teleportation and use it to scare your opponent away. Because he's going to see the little blue, TP thing on top of the Town Hall, and he's going to be like, OS, and run like crazy. And you get to just keep hitting stuff. It's pretty awesome. Especially if you can't see your hero, then you can't click it to see if it's invincible or not. It's pretty cool. And now if you mess up and you fully teleport your hero over there, then you can't TP your army back and you're screwed. But as long as you manage it well, you should be in good shape. Just something to think about. It's a nice strat that I thought of. So Ghoul Frenzy has finally been researched, and he's not replacing that Slaughterhouse just yet, though he does have a Lazy Acolyte at his expansion. So he's going to be expanding, seeing that his opponent was trying to. The reason he actually checked for the expansion is just because, he saw that kind of a build. When you have this big land-based army kind of thing, there's usually not... they usually do expand, because the only way to really kill undead ground with orc ground is by outnumbering them, because you really can't do it, because Frenzy Ghouls, they own both Raiders and Grunts pretty well. You see the undead is finishing off the creep just because it was hitting his army. He wanted to make sure he got it out of the way. He can get himself a healing scroll if he wants to, although he might have just burned through one, I'm not sure for certain. But you notice that, as I said before, undead ground does own orc ground, and he's pretty much doing quite well. He doesn't have enough mana, unfortunately, to coil stuff, but you can see that he pretty much pushed away the army, even though he was creep jacked. Now, there was the one wyvern out that he couldn't do anything about, but just because he got to plow through everything that the orc had, it works out pretty well. Now, I do somewhat take back that statement. Oh wow, onks are 400 gold. They're definitely worth it to sell. 400 gold to sell? Yeah, whenever you get an onk, sell it. Because, the other items are good, such as like Furbog Stone. I'm not sure if that drops in the same spot anymore. But there actually really aren't a lot of good items in that group anymore. There's the Health Stone, the Mana Stone, and the onk. That's about all. The onk you sell, the stones are decent. So I don't know what to tell you. It's good to regen, and then you can use it as a potion in a pinch. Alright. So, we see currently that there is not a whole lot going on. He's just creeping. And he's going back to the expansion because he knows that he tried to do it before. He might as well try again. Now, the reason the Wyvern really couldn't do a whole lot to the Orc player... I'm going to go ahead and pause it so I can explain it. Let's pause right now. So we're at 11:35 I am. And I'm paused. Okay. So I retract the statement about... Ghoul Garg versus Grunt Wyvern, because as you saw, the Ghouls actually did quite well against the assorted forces, though if you're going for a Grunt and a Grunt Wyvern force, generally you go Farseer TC, and your area of effect will maul the Ghouls. That's when it actually works. Now, when this guy went for the Shadow Hunter, he went with Healing, and he went with Ward. Now, why didn't he go with Hex? This is what Hex does against Ghouls. There's two things. It does jack and shit. And so, really, Hex is worthless versus Ghouls. It owns Fiends, though, but, worthless versus Ghouls. Alright. So he's pretty much counting on the wards for some extra damage potential. He's got plenty of damage with the Wyvern. He's really relying on to knock out any Gargs that show up, mostly. Also, they're undispellable, so they're actually pretty decent against destroyers if those are to show up and try their hand at owning stuff. That's what the wards are for. Now you can see that the undead expansion, it's up just now. It just started. The blight is now just being summoned, and the acolytes are just now starting to mine the gold. And he's rallying the one more into it. Now he's checking for the expansion. He's checking for the expo because there was one up last time he went there, and so there's probably one again. And just as a word of advice, I said it a little bit earlier, anytime you see a barracks bestiary build, or even just a barracks when it doesn't come to harass, that's probably an expo. Most people will expand when they do that kind of a thing. So let's go ahead and get this unpaused again, and we'll continue on with the analysis of the match. Let's unpause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. Okay. So we see that the DK does hit level 3, which is a great moment for the undead player. And we see that the expansion is just about to go up, and here it is. So he's going to kill this peon, and if he really tried, he could get his Lich to level 3, but that's what you get when you're lazy and you don't really check. But his Lich could hit level 3 right here, but now he's 9 EXP away, so T_T right there. But, he has a Destroyer who ate the mana off of something, and now it's, owning the Great Hall. And here comes his opponent, and guess what? Here comes a pair of bats, and the Destroyer's at, very low hit points. So, coil, and it's still alive. And, it's going to go down pretty soon, I would think. And, down it goes. Okay, so here we have the fight going off. The Lich does level up, and we notice how the armies are lining up. There's a quick focus onto the Raider. Let's go ahead and unpause. Or, sorry, pause. Ready? Go. Pause. Okay, I'm at 12:28. You guys should be around there. Okay, so right now, their mindsets. The undead player probably needs to pull out another... Well, he could choose between keeping the statue to heal or using his statue to turn into a destroyer. Now we see that both the undead heroes are out of mana. However, the Orc heroes, well, he's got enough for some wolves, or, if he waits some chain lightning. The Shadow Hunter is level 3, which means, Owned Serpent Wards and a little bit of chain heal. Undead's not really checking out the exact mana and item specifications of his opponent. Let's go into the Orc perspective then. The Orc perspective is, well, yes, I have quite a lot of injured units. If you use just the right bracket key, you can see that there are 5 badly injured grunts. They're all about to die. But he's got heroes, and now you press the left bracket key. Undead has just a few more ghouls than he has grunts, but they're also all hurt, and chain lightning's going off. And since the Undead player's out of mana, it's going to be tough. So right now, Undead is thinking, well, he's probably using the alt key. He does use his hero spells. He knows that his opponent is very low on hit points, and he can knock out those grunts. But also, he knows that there's a very low hit point Great Hall. So what he's actually going to be doing is knocking out the grunts, and then killing the Great Hall, and then TP, so that he minimizes his losses, but knocks out all of the Orc army. And then, there's a fresh start. Orc has to choose between going for more ground or going for air, and it's going to be a tough choice, because there are a few ghouls left. However, they are killable. If he goes for Wyvern, it's easy to get some Gargs out. So it's going to be a tough choice. They're both going to have to scout and see what they go for afterwards. Serpent Wards can be pretty adaptable. They're just, solid, good damage. And we're going to see how this turns out. So let's go ahead and unpause. I'm at 12:28. I'm unpausing in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Here we go. The chain lightning goes off, manages to kill a ghoul. Chain heal goes off, does actually pretty well for him, saves a grunt or two. You notice the grunts are going down, and here come a pair of wyverns. So now Orc is choosing apparently to go air, and Undead knows, well, I'm going to have to be countering air. So he finishes off that building right there, and he TPs out, as I said. Managed to knock out another ghoul, so we can see that the Orc player does not have much in terms of ground. The Undead player has just 2 ghouls with him from that fight. However, he did kill an expansion, so that's pretty good for him. He has enough ghouls to chop wood with, and he is continuing to make more ghouls, because he realizes that he could probably still go through and continue to win. He does have an expansion, so he thinks he's pretty able, because he just canceled a second expansion for the Orc player, that he could just out macro him and just win that way. As his heroes will level up, he'll get more nuking. See, the Lich gained a good 210 experience from that last fight. 110 experience from that last fight. Definitely gained probably a similar amount. So that's 220 EXP of units that the Undead player killed, which equates to about 3 grunts and a peon. It's about that number. So, decent kills for him. And the Undead player, I think, actually lost both his destroyers and a few ghouls, but he also managed to kill the expansion. So, in terms of just units, Undead probably lost. In terms of significance, Undead probably won by killing the Expo. And since he has one of his own, he's going to continue to macro. Now we see a bad fight right there. Actually, he manages to lose him some hit points off of his guys. And now let's see if he actually used the destroyer trick. Did not use the destroyer trick, so he actually could have had some mana on his destroyers, but he's a noob. You see he's getting armor on the destroyers so that they're more resistant to the Bat Riders. You can see that actually 1 coil is equal to a Bat Rider worth of damage, so as long as you can keep pace with the coils, you'll be in pretty good shape, except for the AoE, but that's what statues are for. And he's going to come back to kill the expansion again, because as long as he can keep that down, he'll eventually win just by out-macroing. Once both mains run out, he'll still have his Expo, it'll be a good shape. So he sees that the Orc player is not expanding, and here comes the Destroyers. Now if they had the Orb, they could be owning these burrows even more, but he's a noob, so he doesn't. Good job, retard. Alright, so the peons are going into the burrows, and all he's going to do is just run after the burrows. See if he can force his opponent to stop macroing and just spend money straight up just on burrows. It'll be pretty good for him, because, it'll take a while for his opponent to replace guys. You can see he's already building another burrow back there. He's focusing on destroyers. He's about to lose one to the burrows, actually. You see that he has quite a lot of actually damaged destroyers, and he doesn't manage to quite knock out those last 2. He could have if he had the Orb of Annihilation, but whatever. I don't think he actually lost many units. There's 1 ghoul corpse. I don't think he actually lost any destroyers. He still has a 3, and he managed to kill, I believe, 3 burrows. And, he did lose a TP as well, but, he made the Orc player panic. He has to spend a bunch of money getting those burrows back. It's actually a pretty worthwhile fight for the for the undead player, you actually kind of pulled a bit of an advantage there. So really, the undead mindset is just pulling out a macro advantage. You know, it's okay if he sacrifices a ghoul at a time. You know, if he keeps the expansion down and keeps the burrows out, there's not a whole lot that Orc can do, because he has to keep spending his money replacing the buildings. You know, then his money stockpiles, and he'll probably leap right into low upkeep because of all the money he'll have. And then, I mean, his income is cut even more, and the undead player can continue to walk over him. Now, if he had used the Orb of Annihilation, would have been so much nicer, but, you know, what can you do? It's total imbalance. Okay. So, now we've got him going up to the item shop to pick up some, probably some healing items. He already has the TP, and he has the Orb of Corruption, so that his DK can attack air. And he sends out a scout, as you can see. He sends out probably a skeleton. It is a skeleton to check for expos. He sends, you know, that's one of the best uses of the Rod of Necromancy. You just, you know, summon it, split up the skeletons, and go check for expos. If they die, who cares? They're like 12 EXP, and they don't cost hardly anything, so it's fine. So now, his mindset, we're at 17 minutes now, is, well, I've got myself 3 destroyers. He finally uses the destroyer trick, picking up mana. Gets, you know, 3 full mana destroyers, and says, let's go, noobs. And so he morphs, and he mobilizes. And perfect timing, because here comes the Wyvern forces. He's like, well, you notice that he has very few ghouls left. He's actually going up for a straight destroyer now. You know, as opposed to gay destroyers, we know that we don't, you know, appreciate that in WCR. That's from the Realms DW dual commentary. He has 3 towers up at his expo because he wants to make sure he doesn't lose it, because that's his advantage right here. Orc can probably win if, you know, it was just 1 base versus 1 base. Just because I think the Orcs player is slightly, you know, he's playing probably better, I think. But, you know, here we go. We have the Ghostly Focus Fire going down. Notice how much it just owns those burrows. He does a coil so his destroyers don't die. He's just knocking them out left and right. And so now, Orc cannot make any reinforcements this whole fight. And so this will be interesting how it works out. Here we go. He's kind of walking around like outside of the burrow. And he's going to, you know, regroup just outside the base. You know, just to anger his opponent even more. You know, he's able to come in and out, do whatever damage he wants to. But he's going to come in there and just finish off that burrow, because, I mean, you might as well. It'll be an easy kill, blows it up. No, there's no more burrows at all for the Orc player. There's no more base defense. Here we go, the Nova goes off, and it's time to own. Let's pause this again. Pause in 3, 2, 1, pause. I'm at 1825, and we're paused. Okay, so now they're micro mindsets. For Undead, he's like, alright, I just killed all his food. If I wanted to, I could TP out, and it's fine. You know, I can replace my forces. He can't. I'll just come in and out again, and again, and again, and again. He could do this all game because he has an expo, and he could probably win. However, he smells blood. He's like, you know what, let's go. I could win it. You know, instead of making this take forever, I'm just going to win this game, and, you know, it'll be over, and I'll advance to the next round. It's cool. Orc player's like, I need to win this. I need an expansion too. I have neither, you know. He needs to have some miracle that he can force his opponent off, somehow inflict a lot of losses, hopefully maybe even get the hero levels, just to counter that unit advantage that his opponent has. But really, without being able to macro anything, and you can already tell that, you know, by the replay progress, that Orc's going to lose this. I actually haven't even seen the very end of this game. I actually had to leave right about here last time I watched it. But, I mean, you could just see how Undead can win this. He's got the level 3 Lich, level 3 DK. Yes, the Shadowhunter's almost 5, the Farseer is 4. There was the hero level advantage for the Orc player, but just the unit advantage. The ghouls are going to rip up everything. You use the right bracket key. You see there's a few Wyvern out. That's about all. So the ground forces for the Orc player are going to rape. There's nothing else that, or for the Undead player, are going to own. There's nothing for the Orc player to really keep the ghouls at bay now, because he's going to have to deal with the destroyers with his Wyvern. He's already out of bats. He did not make enough bats to counter the destroyers. That's what you get for not scouting enough. You know, he just built Wyvern after Wyvern when bats would have done it so much better for him. And he possibly could have, you know, fought him off. There's only, you know, one armor upgrade for the destroyers? You know, that's plenty for bats to handle. You know, just suicide about 3 into each one, or 2 into each one, and rely on the splash for the rest of it. And yes, maybe he gets a slight gold advantage. You know, it's going to be 20 gold apiece advantage for the Undead player. But, you know, the expo you get, or the EXP you get, you know, you can do pretty well, because if you don't kill the destroyers, they're going to rip you up badly. So, you know, gamedge.vanness has the advantage by not letting him get many Bat Riders. So let's go ahead and unpause this again in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. So here we have the fight. You see there's no Orb of Corruption or Orb of Annihilation anymore. You see the Wyvern focusing down as best they can. So Nova goes off. Coil goes off to save. And he's just focusing down the Wyvern best he can. DK levels up. Chain Heal goes off. That's useful. But, the ghouls are too much, especially with the Rod of Necromancy. All of the Orc ground is pretty much dead. Lich levels up again. Last Wyvern eats it. Now Orc's left with his heroes. The Shadowhunter could do quite a bit with that level 3 Serpent Ward, but I don't think so. Now you can micro Serpent Wards. You actually click them and then right-click on a unit and they will attack it. See the DK is ready to coil. Ooh, Chain Heal goes off. DK is ready to coil again if he has the mana. But he's going to chase it down with just his units. Down goes the SH. Time to kill the Farseer. DK is almost leveling. Lich about to go down, actually. But Lich seems to be in okay shape. He takes a coil. See, there are those Serpent Wards out. And the Serpent Wards are really... their damage is insane. People complain about water metals, but you can't dispel these. As you can see, the score does go to the Orc player, as I said. It's really just... He played better, I thought. He had the better outlook, getting the expansions. But, I think he played better in general. But gamedge.vanness played smarter. He got lucky, too. He got lucky, or maybe it's really just that amount of skill, but by being able to find those expos, it's not really hard to find an expo at someone's natural, but his timing with it was really good. He played very smart in actually taking out the expos, because really, if it weren't for that, he would have lost. I'll guarantee you, Orc would have won the game. So this will be Phreak signing out. Divine-edge.com. Goodbye. GGXD. Later.